For the past 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, Nigeria has been having challenges that are beckoning and waiting for answers and solutions. That is why we are bringing to you our program, State of the Nation. And this is going to come up on our flagship program this morning on ITV. I am hereby inviting you to join me, Bola Bakare, your host, on State of the Nation, so that we can hasten the motions that brings national development. It's going to be a regular basis on Tuesdays. Make it a date with me. I'll be there waiting for you, and then we shall discuss Nigeria on an holistic level. And this morning, we shall dwell on a topic that involves every one of us. That is the basis for our nationhood, the basis for our existence, the basis for our development. What am I talking about here? I'm talking about our peculiar politics of last resort. Don't bother your head yet about that topic because it's heavy. Our politics of last resort. But I can make you a promise. By the end of this discourse, you will be able to know more about our nation, Nigeria, what affects us, what we should do on a regular basis. Not minding the fact that life in itself is work in progress. Nigeria is work in progress. But at the same time, we need to imbibe things that are futuristic enough for us to be able to learn from our experiences to forge ahead for a better development. With me in the studio this morning is none other than my brother, Dr. Chuba Keshi. He is a researcher, he is a publisher, he is a political scientist. And I'll say one thing about him, he's a quiet activist because he knows how to go about it, and he will deliver to you. You will see what I'm talking about as we move on this morning. Dr. Chuba Keshi, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, right, my brother. Thanks for gracing the invite, and then we're here together again to share your insightful insights. Thank you for coming.
It's good to be here.
Thank you. Like I said earlier, we are going to be dealing with a factor that is pertinent. Our peculiar politics of last resort. The meaning you will get as we go on. Before we talk about politics, let's talk about the factors that make up that word politics. And that factor is you and I. We are the people that makes up the polity that makes up Nigeria. Let us start off by looking at who we are, where we are starting out from, and where we should do. Dr. Chuba, my first question is based on what I just said now, that as Nigerians, I want you to tell us about this, our geopolitical and cultural landscape. What does it entail? Let us take that as a basis for our total discourse, please.
Well, it depends on what you mean. If you're talking about our geopolitical landscape,
yes,
before the interruption of slavery and then subsequently colonialism.
Of course, yes.
So we were peoples.
That's right.
You know.
Okay, peoples.
We're
I like
peoples,
that.
Yes, and each community, each grouping, each ethnic group. Within the ethnic groups, you have tribes.
That's true.
Now, each people had their own ways of doing things.
Okay.
You know, and then they complemented one another.
Right.
You know,
right.
and peacefully, yes, we had wars because that was a period where states were being formed.
Okay.
So if states are being formed, there's bound to be conflict, you know,
okay.
because people would like to take territories.
Okay.
So people were fighting for the reason of forming their own states.
Okay.
So most of those states were nation states. Ethnic groups formed the states. The Yorubas had their own. The Igbos had a very big Republican conglomerate, I would say. You know,
So
like a federalism, if you like, because Igbo communities, you know, were autonomous, little autonomous communities.
Yeah,
but the entire Igbo ethnic group was a nation.
Okay.
You know, so that was the way we were. You know, before the interception of colonialism, slavery. And of course, there was a lot of confusion during slavery. And people were now they were fighting interethnic, intertribal wars, intercommunity wars, you know, to get captives in some instances. So wars were raised for those reasons. In some other instances, wars were raised because they were fighting for streams or for rivers and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
but in the process,
natural things
they captured slaves and so on. So after slavery came colonialism, you know, to institutionalize the damage that has been done to our...
Thank you for that intro. And then I want you to give us this, maybe in 1 or 2 sentences. You made mention of the element of conflicts, that between the peoples, the ethnic groups, the tribes, there were conflicts. You've said it, but at the same time reiterate it, so that, because I believe you have the insights to educate us this morning. So the element of the conflict in itself, can you again put it into perspective for us? In 2 sentences.
There will always be conflict.
Naturally.
Even in the family, you know, even within yourself. If you
you get mad at yourself.
No, not necessarily getting mad. If you are going to, you want to go to Lagos. Right. I know you're from Lagos State.
That's right.
There will be a conflict within you. Do I go by road or do I go by air?
Oh, yes,
that's a conflict in itself. So there's always conflict.
Thank you for that analogy.
There's always conflict.
Will understand.
So you now decide what you want to do, depending on your interest. So in every society, in every community, there is conflict.
That's true.
You know.
Thank you very much. Based on this intro you've given to us, my trajectory of thought goes ahead to say, okay, now we'll be able to identify the peoples, to use your language. And then when you have that, there is that element of conflict that tails it. I am looking at an ideology that is there with us, that element of divide and rule. What part do you think it plays in this system of saying, okay, the peoples are there, the conflicts are there, the element of divide and rule comes in? Like you rightly said, some were trying to say, okay, this water we want to lay hold to it, or this land we want to lay hold to it, or want to lay hold to whatever is there. That element of divide and rule, has it been with us for long, or is this part of the system? Is it part of this polity we're talking about?
Yes, it is part of the polity today. Yes, and
it didn't apply then.
It did. I'm coming to that.
Okay,
you know?
Thank you.
Your topic is our peculiar politics of last resort. Now, the politics of last resort is simply war. War is defined as the politics of last resort. When you have played the politics of negotiation, of round table, so you resort to war. That's the politics of last resort.
Okay.
Now, the divide and rule we talked about.
That's right.
Is responsible for the war that is going on in Nigeria today. War does not have to be a shooting war. Yes, there can be Cold War. You know. Of course, yes. So the divide and rule. I don't call it divide and rule. I call it divide and conquer. You know, because that is what happened in Nigeria. And you know, the British. If you look at Lugard's dual mandate,
yes,
you know, the British used it. They wanted to use it in Nigeria and India. You know, because they saw this people as diverse, culturally diverse people, so they wanted to.
Right. But and they have the numbers.
It didn't succeed in India, you know, because we can, in the course, if you need, we'll talk about that.
That's right.
So, but in Nigeria, it succeeded in Nigeria, you know, and Nigeria is the only country on earth where the colonialists deliberately pitched one ethnic group against the other, so that between the Yoruba and the Igbos, between the Yoruba and the Hausa, between the Hausa and the Igbo, and vice versa, we didn't see ourselves as compatriots. We saw ourselves as
different entities,
and competing dangerously for the national wealth.
Yeah, but
that was the intention of the British. So they needed to conquer the people. They needed to conquer the psychosociology, you know, so that people, Nigerians, will not have what we call the Nigerian spirit. It does not exist. There's no Nigerian spirit.
Are you saying it was bestowed on us?
years. It was deliberately, crafted with us. Why it succeeded? Because I remember Sir Thomas Babington Macaulay, in 1835, he went and told the British Parliament that he had transcended the whole of India. That you couldn't find a thief, you couldn't find somebody who didn't believe in India. So that, and I said that we cannot conquer India unless we conquer the people's spirit,
which they
couldn't. You see, that is why India will not allow you to come and dominate them with your products, with your Coca-Cola. They won't let it. That's been the way. But that didn't happen here. They found. Do you know that when they wanted to form the first, what do you call this, constabulary, in Ghana, this was towards the end of the 19th century. Ghanaians refused to join the instrument of oppression, the colonial police. Which they considered instrument of oppression. Ghanaians refused. But they had to come to northern Nigeria. So the first crop of the Ghanaian police were Hausas from Nigeria, not from Ghana. It's in the books. So that tells you a lot of things.
That's right. That's right.
So the Nigerian groups, the Nigerian ethnic groups, and I don't want to blame the British solely for this.
Okay, it has to do with us too.
Yes, because the Nigerian, I was listening to Shehu Kuti the other day, and he was saying that the people that are looting treasury today were those who sold their brothers as into slavery. And it makes sense to me, because this kind of thing has been with us. Why did the Hausas in Ghana refuse to serve in the British constabulary, and they had to come to Nigeria to take people to serve?
Do that.
So the bottom line is that Nigeria was the only country where they succeeded in pitching one ethnic group against the other, and then the oppressive nature of the colonial rule. Of course, people had to fight for independence. So the state was seen as an instrument of oppression. So all through the time, Zik and Ahmadu Bello, all of them were fighting. They wanted to wrest power from the British, not for anybody, but for themselves.
Thank you. Along those lines, because I love what you're doing to us, you're giving us a good trajectory. And to you, our viewers, what I promised you is what you're seeing right now. The discourse is an educational one. We're beginning to learn the ropes. What we need, honestly, is don't let us be ignorant. If we are ignorant, we do not know what is happening. We don't even know what is coming. That is why I will advise you to sit back and listen good. There is nothing that happens to us outside of ourselves. It has to do with us. The polity we're talking about is us. The malfeasance we're talking about is us. Things are going wrong, it's us. And if it goes good, it will be ours too. So my brother, Dr. Keshi, my next line of thought brings up a question that says, okay, we've been able to look at how we got this far. But in our polity, what do we really have? Because, okay, like you rightly said, we've had the British experience, and then what we call the British experience was 61 years ago. So the experience we're talking now is our own experience, which brings to the fore the idea of people, us. What do we have as we speak? The British come, they lorded over us, this and that. Now that we are on our own, are we being governed by a ruling class, a governing class, or a power elite? Take those three from me. A ruling class, a governing class, or a power elite. Where does our own problem lie this time? This time is localized.
What you've just asked is, if we start talking about it, it could take a whole week.
Yeah,
I want to see how I can take it
just
and put it in context.
That's right.
Now, when you talk about a ruling class, you're talking about a class that is ruling. Okay. That is ruling. A class that is in charge. It takes decisions that affects everybody.
Okay.
Now, it becomes a ruling class when that class creates and owns the wealth of the nation.
Okay.
So you're not talking about a class that is an authentic capitalist class, so to speak. A class that has capital, that have created the wealth and dominates the economy. That's the ruling class.
Now, is it the ruling class, as you've just given us a definition?
And who control power?
Is it an advantage or a disadvantage as we speak?
No, I'm coming. Let me finish.
All right, then go ahead.
Then there's the governing class. The governing class are like the representatives of the ruling class. So when you come to the United States, for example, when the American state was being formed, you had people like J.P. Morgan.
Yes.
The banker. You have people like Henry Ford. They belonged to the ruling class. You had George Washington, Jefferson, and they belonged to the ruling class. You see, but Jefferson and Washington were in the governing class.
Okay. The other guys were capitalists.
So they were extrapolated from the ruling class. Now, like I said, they represent the governing class, represent the ruling class.
That's right.
Now, the power elite also represents the ruling class, but you cannot call them governing class because they are not. Power elite is a group of the same people, but who do not own capital, who are peripheral. They call them who are peripheral, like in our own case.
On the fringes.
On the fringes. In our own case, the people that emerged, the Ziks and the Awolowo's, and up to today, they did not have capital.
Yes.
Yes. They were mainly people that were kulaks, traders and all that. The Kotiebos, the Dantatas, the Asaboros, these were traders. Though they were wealthy, Louis Ojuku, all those people, they were wealthy, but they were traders. They did not have authentic capital. So they now become the governing class, so to speak. They are not governing because they do not take authentic decisions. They report, to the colonial masters, even after colonialism. The post-colonial states, that's what they call new colonialism. So the power elite is what we have today. They do not come from the ruling class, so you cannot really call them the governing class.
Okay. They didn't follow that trajectory.
No. So they govern. So that what we have today is power elite. You see, but going back to what we're saying. These things, I must say this and now, these things were seen by Awolowo, of all the national freedom fighters. So Awolowo was a very wise man. What he did, because he knew that Nigeria was created not to succeed by the British, by this divide and conquer thing and rule. So what he did was a very wise. He decided to develop the West culturally. He pressed,
which was the mainstay that they had in India. They could not break that cultural fusion.
Yes, they had to develop the West culturally. Know what I mean cultural? Not necessarily the abstract culture in terms of artifacts, buildings, and all those things.
Everything. It's a fusion, really.
So what Awolowo was doing was that if he was able to develop the West, which he succeeded in doing, other people will copy, and there will be a healthy competition among the regions. And it was already happening. When he created, when he brought the University of Ibadan, University College Ibadan, Zik went and brought University of Nigeria. When he created a radio station, other people were copying.
That's right.
So
that was healthy competition.
That was a very healthy competition. So because he knew that there was no entity they called Nigeria, there was no Nigerian spirit.
That's right.
So the best we could have was to have this regional strength, so that we could compete among ourselves
and develop as we go.
And then there will be this factor of mutual deterrence. Nobody can dominate the other one. That was what he was doing, until the bubble
burst.
Yeah.
Now, to use your language, now that the bubble has burst, we are now looking at a state, because now we've talked about the classes, the ruling class, the governing class, and the power elites. And then you, my viewers out there, you should have been able to learn a few of what Dr. Keshi is getting across to us this morning. It's highly pertinent. It is important. Let us learn from it. But what we are saying this morning is we are applying the local content, how it applies to us. Now that you're giving us the classes, there is an element of these classes. Are they using their class rating to dupe the people? Forgive my language. Dupe the people in terms of this treasury looting and then mismanagement of our funds. You've been able to give us the three categories of classes. But at the same time, with the Nigerian context, they are not doing us any good. Everything is gone.
Yeah, it has to be. It is like that. It has to be. You see, like I said.
Are you wishing us bad? You say
no, I am saying what it is. What it is.
Okay.
Given the factors.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Nigerians are willing to listen.
Like the colonial state was there, and they were fighting to wrest power from the British. You know, and nobody was fighting for Nigeria. Everybody was fighting for himself because of the factor of divide and rule. Somebody was fighting for himself. Now, by the time the British left, the character of the Nigerian state did not change. Okay. What changed was personnel. So the people that took over power now took over power for the British people. Okay. That is why today, even today, some people say it that the British handed over power to the Fulani people. You know, it is said openly.
Hey, allegedly. Allegedly.
And I said, show me the memo. Show me the treaty. Because the British write a lot of treaties. But there's no such treaty. But people still say it because what happened was that when the British came, they found the Fulanese as people that they could use to dominate the other. And if you look at the history of protests in the north, beginning from the Tiv revolts of 1943, all through, you know, the efforts to resist the oligarchy that the British had created. So that is what had to happen. Now, when the British, like I said, these people took over power, not for Nigeria, but for themselves. So, and then, like I said, they had no capital. So the state now becomes an instrument of acquiring wealth, because that state belongs to nobody. The state has been seen as oppressed. I'll give you even a working example. People resisted taxes under the colonial rule. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah, basically, yes.
People resisted taxes because they found it oppressive. And till today, don't people still resist tax?
Yeah.
If you have a way of not paying your tax, you will not pay. Because you still see the state as an instrument of oppression.
Or even if you localize it, you'll be wondering, they are pay tax, and at the end of the day, somebody is going to lose it. So exactly, because the tax they were paying under colonial rule was used to develop England. Yeah. So like I said, the state did not change in terms of character. So people still see the state as an instrument of oppression. So if you want to avoid, if you can avoid paying tax, you avoid it. Like you rightly said. Now that element of people avoid paying tax, the element of total leadership against one group against the other, it brings me to another level of leadership and followership. For every leadership, there has to be a followership.
Yes.
There is, you can't say you're a king without having subjects. This element of leadership and followership, do you think it affects us, or it is an albatross that we're handling wrongly?
See, there is when you talk about leadership and followership, the most important thing is legitimacy.
That's right. That's right.
Now, you are a leader when your leadership is legitimate. What is legitimate? Legitimate is when people willingly accept you. And they will do what they ought to do even when you are not there.
Okay.
But will you really say that is true? Now, people who accept the so-called leaders today, they don't accept them because they believe in their philosophy, but because of what they get from them. So when they are not there, they do otherwise. When you are out of power, nobody talks to you.
Yes, right.
So that is it, and because of the background of the emergence of leadership and followership in Nigeria, where people were forced on others, you know, it's difficult for people to give the leadership legitimacy. So there is no authentic followership in Nigeria.
Everything is fluid.
People follow you because of what they can get from you. Yes. And then people who lead because of what they can get for themselves. That is what we mean by war. Everybody is at war with the Nigerian state. That is why the Nigerian politics are that politics of last resort.
Last resort.
Yeah. Everybody is fighting. Every group is fighting. Even
when the groups are fighting, individuals fight for personal.
So that is the whole place.
It's one big
like an anarchy, you know.
No. Allegedly, you from your
anarchy, you know?
See, thank you, because I love the way you're sharing your insights with us, because your insights are very educative. And for my fellow Nigerians out there, with the aptitude, all it takes is for you to sit back, listen to it, and build on it. You went to school, you were taught 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How you made 2 plus 2 to be 4, 4 plus 4 to be 8, is something that evolved from you. You've listened to us this morning. You will take the bits that were given to you. We are expecting you to sit back, think about the bits you are listening to, develop on it, so that we can evolve to become a better nation. Our development is everybody's problem. One of my favorite phrases is, if the heavens is going to fall, it is not the business of one person. It is a collective anomaly. And if we're going to make good, it is our collective well-being that is going to make it good. So let's start working towards that collective thing of making Nigeria a good place for us to live in. Dr. Keshi, I'm not leaving you. Nigerians, my viewers are enjoying your insights. We've been able to talk about the leadership and the followership, and then your takeaway has been the leadership is self-centered. The followership follows for what they can get from the leadership. So there is a problem there.
Yes, there is.
There is a problem there. And at the same time, why is it that there are no other maybe I call them institutions, some other, they're not arms of government, outside of the government, that can lend a helping hand? Like, I would like to look at classes of maybe like the labor unions, the civil society organizations, and the intelligentsia. How come we are not getting inputs from these people enough to be able to make changes of these anomalies we've talked about?
Like I said, if we begin to talk about,
just give us
the labor movement. If you go to the history of the labor movement, you know, I dealt with it in my book. You know,
right.
You will see that the labor movement too, the way it developed. Even Bakala in Imodu, you know, complained that the labor unions themselves were to solve their own personal problems, not the problem of the nation.
Wow.
That is the way the labor union was cultivated. The labor system was cultivated. And if you look back, in our recent history, you'll find some famous labor leaders who have made a 360. You know? Who have made a 360. You know?
Just go ahead. I'm enjoying you.
So that tells you that the labor cannot help you.
Cannot help you. Move ahead to the civil society organizations.
The same thing. The civil society organizations were formed by people who also came to satisfy their personal interests.
Selfish reasons.
Yes. If you look at, I'm sure if you want to form a civil society, what the CAC will ask you, you know, will be so much, because they want to make sure you are real. So you spend so much money even forming it. They want to make sure that you're authentic. You're supposed to be non-profit making.
That's right. You're supposed to have money.
Yeah. So you're supposed to even be registered free. But no, they will ask you a lot of things. You know, ask you a lot of commitment to make sure that you're not out of experience, that you're not doing it for your self-aggrandizement. But unfortunately, they cannot do much because they cannot even win followership among the people.
Okay, they are kind of hampered.
You and I now, I am Igbo, you are Yoruba.
That's right.
If they are talking to me and they are talking to you, a time will come when the chips are down, somebody will play the ethnic card, and you go your way and I go my way.
That's
you know,
true.
Even for those of us who are highly educated, you know, it happens.
It happens.
Because
of the way we are wired.
so if we want to, the best way to solve this problem, you know, is to go back to those regions, you know, and adopt Awolowo's model.
Okay.
Let each region develop on their own. Unfortunately, there's no other way out. There's no other way out. You see, because somebody has talked about a revolution. A revolution is not possible because of the strong ethnic divide that the British had created in Nigeria, which has even been cultivated over time. It's even getting worse today. than it was under the colonial system. So let these regions go and develop on themselves, and there will be healthy competition inter-region.
Okay, that's a good one, really. That's really a good one. Because, like you rightly said earlier, that one day or one program is not enough to tidy up all the loose ends here. But even before we let you go, I would like you to delve a little bit into one factor, because it has been in our discussion as we speak. We're talking about the peoples, we're talking about groups, we're talking about tribes, we're talking about ethnic behavior. Let us factor another thing into it. Religious inclination that has been with us now. You see, all these factors I've mentioned, they breed radicalism. So based on this, I don't want to dwell on the negative aspect. Can you give us a little bit of solutions that can mitigate this radicalism that stems from groups, ethnic groups, religious inclination, and what have you? What do you think are the solutions for us to? Because the politics of last resort, like you defined for us, means at the end of the day a war to settle a situation. It might not be bullet wars or that, but these are factors, ethnic, religious. These are factors that breeds that radicalism that makes the whole polity uncomfortable. What do you think are the solutions, please? Maybe
First of all, you have to understand the problem. There's not like religious problem.
Okay.
It's a class war.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Somebody has argued that Nigeria has an almost equal percentage of Muslims
and Christians.
And that in such a situation there must be conflict. No. In Tanzania, it's the same thing. It's about the same proportion. Exactly. But not one person has been killed for religious reasons in Tanzania. So what is happening in Nigeria, it's not religious war. Those who are declaring jihad, they are not declaring jihad, because even the Quran says that it's the state that has the power to declare jihad. So these people are fighting for themselves.
Fighting for their own pockets.
Yes, so don't talk about religious war. There's no religious war in Nigeria.
That's good.
So all these partly of conflicts that the one you call religion, the one you call ethnic, is just the struggle for state resources. That's what everybody is struggling for. And I said the solution is to go back to the regions, the base of which Nigerian independence was negotiated. Let us go back to regions, and each person will develop in his own,
at his own speed.
Because there is no Nigerian spirit, and I say this again. There's no Nigerian spirit. So what are you doing? The spirits belong to Yoruba, they belong to the Igbo, the Hausa, and the Fulani. But all of us can come together, as one state. Let us go back to true federalism. There is no other way. People who are talking about revolution is not possible, because when the vanguard decides to mobilize, somebody plays the ethnic card. You saw what happened during the ENTAILS. You saw what happened. Nigeria, instead of there to be a revolution, Nigeria will go in the way of Somalia, or Lebanon in those days.
We don't pray for that yet.
Let us not be talking about revolution. Let us go back to the regions and develop at our own pace, and then there will be interregional cooperation.
Thank you very much. And to our viewers out there, that has been Dr. Chuba Keshi. His line of thought, his education, is good for us to sit back, like I said earlier, assimilate, and then develop on it. It made something very clear now, based on technicalities that are ungrounded, which I believe too. There is nothing like religious war or jihad or Christian Muslims or this or that. What we have is you and I. We are fighting based on our greed, on personal greed. And then we are hiding under excuses of government, of this, of jihad, of religion. Nothing like that exists if you had listened to him properly. So fellow Nigerians, like the name of our program goes, State of the Nation, where we hasten the motions for national development. This national development is for us to make happen. Don't go away, keep faith. Our discussion segment continues shortly. But before that, I would like to say one huge thank you to Dr. Chuba Keshi, who has been, I'm looking for a word to qualify you, because you gave us all the gamut from top to bottom. This is how we started. This is the way we are. This is the way to go. Thank you for gracing the occasion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, my brother. On that note, my viewers, don't go away.